Hello, this is the Kenyan Siasa. And I'm your host, Bali Yodawa Nadawa. Dear folks of the Kenyan Siasa, on Sunday, President William Ruto addressed the opposition. He made a statement directed to the opposition. This was in a prayer rally in Western Kenya. President William Ruto said that the opposition currently doesn't have any plan, they don't have any agenda for Kenya. That their only plan is to send William Ruto home in 2027 general elections. That their only agenda is to make President William Ruto one term. And therefore, he said that he can't hand over power to a group of people who don't have any plan, any agenda. And Rigathi on the other end, in Mount Kenya region, roadshow rallies responded immediately. Rigathi addressed President William Ruto through a political rally and said that there is no provision for handing over power in the Kenyan constitution. The only thing that we have is the assumption of office. And he said that whether Ruto like it or he doesn't like it, he will have to hand over power. And actually, he congratulated President William Ruto with his words that indeed President William Ruto has started sensing defeat in the 2027 general elections. Dear folks of the Kenyan Siasa, in this episode, we are trying to paint, we're presenting to you some of the reasons as to why we believe that in an event that President William Ruto is defeated, he will have to hand over power. That President William Ruto won't have any other option in case he will be fairly defeated in the 2027 general elections. He won't have any reason to not to hand over power to the person who will have won the elections fairly. Number one, currently we can say that there is an inferno atmosphere. There is a canopy of bitterness, of rage among Kenyans. A great percentage of the Kenyan populace is bitter with President William Ruto's regime, and they can't just wait for the 2027 general elections to vote against him. This is a group of people who deeply believed in him. This is a group of people who, through their lenses on President William Ruto, viewed a renaissance of Kenya through President William Ruto's presidency. However, their expectations haven't been met, and therefore they feel betrayed, and therefore they feel duped. And this translates to a vote of no confidence in them against Ruto in the 2027 general elections. Therefore, we can say that with this intense atmosphere of rage, of bitterness among a great percentage of the Kenyan populace, we can say that the vote against, things remaining constant, the vote against President William Ruto might end up being huge, and therefore it will be very difficult for him to stick to power or to refuse to hand over power to the person who will win the elections fairly. Another reason as to why we believe that whether President William Ruto likes it or doesn't like it, he will just have to hand over power in an event that he is defeated in the 2027 general elections is the Raila factor. Currently, President William Ruto is banking on Raila Amolo Odinga's support base for him to maneuver in the 2027 general elections. It will be remembered that in the 2022 general elections, were it not for the Gamer Nation, were it not for the Mount Kenya region, President William Ruto wouldn't have been the president right now. He won the 2022 general elections courtesy of the Gamer Nation. However, since the impeachment of the immediate former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has successfully managed to move away with the Mount Kenya region from President William Ruto's camp. Therefore, we are talking about more than half of the total votes that he got in the 2022 general elections leaving. And with this, we are now having, President William Ruto is currently having a huge void in his basket of votes to fill. And President William Ruto reached out for Raila Amolo Odinga with the faith that the Raila Amolo Odinga's base, considering the fact that Raila Amolo Odinga has been controlling almost half of the total Kenyan votes. So President William Ruto believes that he can compensate the void that has been left by the Gamer Nation by relying on Raila Amolo Odinga's support base. However, this might not turn out to be the way he thinks, because currently a huge percentage of Raila Amolo Odinga's support base isn't happy with Raila Amolo Odinga's decision of working with President William Ruto on this broad-based government, meaning that in an event that Raila Amolo Odinga won't be vying for presidency and won't back any other person backing William Ruto, they might not turn out to vote. One, there will be a great voter apathy in Raila Amolo Odinga's support base. Two, even some of Raila Amolo Odinga's supporters might still vote against President William Ruto. Therefore, it isn't guaranteed that he's going to scoop from Raila Amolo Odinga's basket. And if this happens, indeed, it will be a Herculean task for him to fill the void that has been left by the Gamer Nation. And this will again translate to a huge difference between him and the person who might win in the 2027 general elections. This is in case the opposition marshal the support base well. And with a huge difference between the person who might win fairly, it will be very difficult for him to stick to power. He'll just have to hand it over. Another reason as to why we believe that whether he likes it or he doesn't like it, in an event that he will be defeated, he'll just have to hand over power in the 2027 general elections, is the international community factor. It is an open secret that in the 2022 general elections, the international community were with President William Ruto. They had a soft spot for President William Ruto. They were not aligned with Raila Amolo Odinga. And even if you just take a glance at the Bomas of Kenya where tallying was happening, you could see the US hand being involved in a conspicuous way. The immediate former ambassador of USA to Kenya, Meg Whitman, was physically there throughout that time. And even after the results had been declared, despite some issues being raised, despite the petitions which had not been concluded, you could see Meg Whitman boldly stating that they believe in President William Ruto's victory, congratulating him. And even after he had been sworn in, there was a cordial working relationship between him and the US ambassador, Meg Whitman, and the immediate former president of the US, Joe Biden. But currently, Joe Biden of US is gone. We now have Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump doesn't have any time for African leaders. Donald J. Trump is basically Donald J. Trump's modus operandi isn't much aligned with this African president. Therefore, we can boldly say that he might not get involved in any way in the Kenyan politics in the Kenyan 2027 general elections. And this will be a blow to President William Ruto. Dear folks of the Kenyan Siasa, we reach the halt of this episode. For those of you who are subscribed to our YouTube channel, the Kenyan Siasa, we are humbled, we are glad, thank you. And for those of you who are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, the Kenyan Siasa, we beseech you to show us some love by subscribing, then hit on the notification bell to get notified whenever we upload content. Remember that the Kenyan Siasa is the pinnacle, is the echelon of the Kenyan political dynamics dissection. I'm your host, Jabali Udawa Anadawa. Until next time, bye-bye.